Kurt Schwitters, the exhibition that never was. Kurt Schwitters was an artist, an architect, and a graphic designer. He wanted to be a Dadaist but was banned from the art movement. As a result, he created his own one-man movement, Merz. Derived from the word Kommerz, but also it phonetically echoes other German words such as Herz, Marz, and Scherz. It shows the playfulness of the character of Schwitters, and in turn, his artwork. Merz for him was a way of life. He found everyday objects and used it in his own art. He used wire trappings, newspaper prints, train tickets, candle holders, and even the death mask of his late son. All of this became parts, materials, and his assemblages. Eventually, he stopped using paint as a primer and instead used collage as a way to create art out of the banal. Perhaps one of the most recognizable artwork of Kurt Schwitters was the Merzbau. It was constantly in flux. One day it could be in the studio, the next it could be in the backyard. That was the Merzbau. For him, the Merzbau was the world. It was constantly growing. According to various sources, Schwitters designed holes and grottos for his favorite artists and friends such as Hans and Sophie Arp-Tauber, Theo van Doesburg of De Stijl, Elisitsky, Piet Mondrian, Hannah Hock, amongst countless others. He extended out an invitation to his friends to come visit him and populate their grottos and shrines with their personal works. For example, he has Sophie Arp's bra in her dedicated grotto. During the initial phase of his installation in the 20s, only few people were made aware of his project. Architectural historian Siegfried Gideon, Hervat Walden, and the Arp couple. Despite being a publicist, an artist, he refrained from publicizing his work due to fear of indifference. It took nearly 10 years working on the Merzbau till he regained the confidence to exhibit his installation. He planned to do so by creating the works of his friends into their respective grottos. However, this did not come to pass because he was labeled by the state as a degenerate artist. Schwitters was forced to leave Merzbau and his wife, and that would be the last time he would ever see, both with his wife succumbing to death and the Merzbau being bombed to obliteration. Although not widely considered as a curator, I would like to speculate that what Schwitters was trying to achieve was show how everyday materials can be converted to art. Keep in mind that conversion is one of the main tenets of the practice of alchemy, which Kurt Schwitters was obsessed with, as we can see in the Philosopher's Stone, which can turn metal into gold. For instance, the Philosopher's Stone, a popular alchemy item, was said to turn metal into gold. Furthermore, his son Ernst on numerous occasions has talked about Schwitters storing his urine in jars to cast a golden experience in one of his immersed rooms. Now it's widely accepted that urine was used by alchemists as a way to create Philosopher's Stone. Going back to Schwitters, I believe that Kurt, through his artworks and collages, wanted to show how the banal, the everyday products, can be turned into art, as we see in his collages, like the Die Kotpomp and Der Lustgalgen, which uses buttons amongst countless other things like wires, spools, light bulbs, mannequins. The same could also be said about the grottos, which he has put, as previously mentioned, Sophie Arp's bra, neckties of Hans Arp, and pencils of various artists such as L. Lissitzky were put in their respective grottos. It is close to half a century when the Merzbau would be resurrected, albeit incomplete. However, the following exhibition executes the theme of which I believe that Schwitters was trying to do. Enter curator Harold Schiemann. Harold curated over 200 exhibitions, particularly practicing the concept of Gersamtkunstwerk, coined by the 19th century German composer Richard Wagner. The term refers to the synthesis of the way art is consumed, from the visual, the music, the arrangement of works, circulation, the overall experience. Schiemann, later on in his career, would curate one of the most respected exhibitions of the 20th century, Der Hang zum Gesamtkunstwerk of 1983. In the case of this exhibition, Schiemann focused on the art of tomorrow. an ideal of how art and life could look like in the event of total reformation. Of course, one cannot divorce the milieu of which the exhibition occurred in, particularly the eastern and western divide that engulfed Europe. Regardless, the political stances of the artists that joined the exhibition remained obscured, but nonetheless the theme of an ideal concept, a pure expression or thought being made to reality, can be seen through the art. And whether the art itself lives up to the idealistic nature of thought, or if it manifests as a nightmare, is left to the viewers. The following are examples of artwork in the exhibit. Pictured here is King Ludwig II. Now we can speculate as to why Zeeman would include this real-world figure. King Ludwig II, a king of Bavaria, said to have been insane, much like the character of Don Quixote, obscured reality with fiction. Illustrated on the left was a drawing of King Ludwig II reenacting a scene in Wagner's play Lohengrin. King Ludwig was a fanboy of sorts of Richard Wagner, and so was Harold Zeeman. Now we can speculate as to why Zeeman would include this in his exhibition, but I think that it was a testament to show how fiction can manifest itself in reality. Again, this idea of the banal, an idea, an expression or thought being brought out in reality as something which can be experienced, something that can be touched and felt and heard. Another work in the exhibition was Ferdinand Chaval's Palais Ideal. Chaval was a French postman, a peasant who did not finish school. He was a mailman. The story goes that as he was delivering mail, he would trip on a piece of stone. According to him, the stone had beautiful sculptural and architectural details. Eventually, this would turn into an obsession. He would later spend most of his life collecting rocks, piling them on top of each other, despite no knowledge of architecture or masonry. Again, this idea of the banal, an everyday rock, a pebble, being turned into a piece of art. Next, we have Marcel Duchamp's Fountain, a reconstruction of Gaudi's Colonia Güell, and Vladimir Tatlin's monument to the Third International. Here, we can speculate that the fountain, a ready-made, was being turned into an artwork. Again, this idea of the banal being turned into an artwork, much like what Schwitters was trying to achieve. We have the Colonia Güell, a reconstruction, but nonetheless shows how process, how thought can become reality. And then of course we have the installation for the Third International. Now this can be read in two ways. On one side, the monument to the Third International shows how communism can be a foundation to society. On the other hand, one can read this as a deconstruction of society brought upon by the failings of communism. Of course, this is left for the viewer to decide. And finally, we have Kurt Schwitters. Zeeman commissioned stage director Peter Bissiger to recreate a one-to-one representation of the Merzbau from 3 known photographs. Lots of forensic work, particularly with perspective, focal length, distance when taking the picture, trigonometry, plan drawings of the apartment, the type of camera and film used. And it took almost 2 years on investigation prior to building the Merzbau before it could be recreated. Artist and writer Jenny Odell suggests that this exhibition, the Gersamtkunstwerk, showcased the insanity, the fanatic, the fascist and the totalitarian expression in the artist and how they view the world as expressed through their art. Now I believe that Harold Zeeman accomplished what Kurt Schwitters was trying to do 50 years prior to him. Kurt Schwitters wanted to show how the banal can be turned into art, much like the Philosopher's Stone turning metal into gold. Harold Zeeman showed how art can do as such. He showed how an intangible concept, a feeling, an expression, an idea, pure thought, can be converted into a tangible, material art, an object to be admired. So, how is this important to my work? Well, I think that the idea of Gesamtkunstwerk is valuable in my practice as an artist and architect. Studying the life of Schwitters and learning how he viewed life and how that spelled onto his art and how that dedication allows him to live on through his work. Additionally, looking at G-Man as how he understood Gesamtkunstwerk, not just as a curator but really as an entertainer of multimedia arts, as a sort of circus for counterculture slash themed exhibitions, is a model that continues to work today and in turn deserves to be studied even further. Thank you.